Well, it's that time again. Let's walk in faith, talk about anime, and grow together. Welcome to Reb's Otaku Talk. Hey Otaku family, welcome back to Reb's Otaku Talk, where faith and fandom collide. I'm your host Reb, and joining me is my co-host K2.
Howdy, howdy.
And together we'll venture into the world of anime through the lens of Christian values. Whether you're a seasoned otaku or just starting your anime journey, this is the place where we blend our love for all things anime with a walk in Christ. Join us as we explore thought-provoking themes, inspiring stories, and tackle the deeper connections between our favorite shows and our faith. It's all about finding God's truth in the worlds we love. This is your Christ Walk with Otaku Talk. Let's get started. Now, today's episode dives into a world that has brought forth a lot of controversy in some areas, churches. Even in a church that my wife and I had previously attended, only had their extreme dislike of anime fueled merely by the name Demon Slayer. So, as we jump into this, grab your Kohi and your Anmitsu, and let's dive in. Demon Slayer was created by Koyuharu Gotuye. Demon Slayer is an anime series set in the Taisho-era Japan, following the story of Tanjiro Kamado, a kind-hearted boy who lives with his family in the mountains. One day, Tanjiro returns home to find his family slaughtered by demons, and his younger sister, Nezuko, turned into a demon herself. Determined to protect his sister and avenge his family, Tanjiro joins the Demon Slayer Corps, a group of elite warriors dedicated to hunting down demons. Throughout the series, Tanjiro trains vigorously in combat and learns the secrets of the breathing techniques used by demon slayers to fight demons effectively. He meets various characters along the way, including skilled warriors like Zenitsu and Inosuke, who also become part of his journey. Together, they face powerful demons, uncovering the mysteries behind the demons' origins, and the demon lord Muzan Kibutsuji, the mastermind behind demonic plague. The show explores themes of family, sacrifice, friendship, and the struggle between good and evil. With beautiful animation, intense battles, and emotional depth, Demon Slayer has gained widespread acclaim and popularity worldwide. For such a controversial anime, Demon Slayer holds so many lessons that we could make multiple episodes from it, and those will come at a later time. Today, what I want to talk about is finding strength and weakness through the eyes of the Hashira Gyomei Himejima. Now, K2, we were talking about how much we've both watched Demon Slayer. Do you know anything about this character?
I do not.
Okay. So, I'm going to give some background on him. I'm going to tell you about his early life and the event that led to him becoming a demon slayer.
Okay.
So, Himejima was born in a small, impoverished village where he was raised in an orphanage. As a child, he was blind, but he possessed an extraordinary sensitivity to his surroundings, which he honed as he grew older. Despite his blindness, Gyomei showed remarkable physical prowess and an unshakable sense of discipline. At one point in his early life, Gyomei was deeply religious and a compassionate person. He would often visit the temple to pray and help those in need despite his own difficulties. His heart was full of kindness, and he sought to help others whenever he could. So right there, we can see where even though he has this disability, his blindness,
Yep.
that doesn't stop him from doing greater things.
Yep.
Now, Gyomei's life took a tragic turn when a demon attacked the orphanage where he had grown up. During this attack, Gyomei was forced to confront the demon to protect the children. The demon slaughtered everyone in the orphanage, and Gyomei was blamed for the deaths of the children he had tried to protect. This event greatly impacted him, leaving him with a deep sense of guilt and sorrow. He was eventually rescued by a former Hashira, who took him in and trained him in the ways of the Demon Slayer Corps. Gyomei's strength, determination, and profound understanding of life and death helped him rise quickly through the ranks, earning him the title of Stone Hashira. Now, if we look in the Bible, we can turn to 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 through 10. It says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Finding strength in weakness sounds like an oxymoron, but it holds a lot of truth. In what ways have you found strength in your own weakness in your life?
Ooh, I mean, the quote that really comes to mind right now for me is the weakest link in the chain, and so you're only as strong as your weakest point is. So I mean, for me, my weakest point is definitely either public speaking or just reading. I hate reading. I hate public speaking. I don't know how I'm doing this. I guess because I'm not really in public. We're just sitting in a room right now.
Yeah, but I'll put it to you this way: this is beyond public speaking, so I think you're doing a pretty good job. We just got this is off the path, but we just got analytic updates, and before when I talked about this, we were being heard in um, America,
Yep,
Germany, and Italy.
Italy.
Now we're being heard in Poland.
Wow. All right, Poland, sweet.
So we have yet another country that is hearing us. So you're doing pretty good for not like a
I
public
guess
speaking.
I'm doing pretty good then.
But that is still a thing where you can see a strength coming out of your weakness.
It is.
Because of the fact that, me, I used to be the same way. Very introverted, didn't like to talk at all. When I became a pastor, I had to take speech classes. I had to force myself to go up on stage and speak. I would get groups together and just practice speeches. And then I would put them online for the whole school to see them. And where I was very weak in that area and I had a hard time doing it, whenever I pushed past the weakness, I found that the impact that I was having on other people's lives was where the strength lied. And I could only do that with God's help and a lot of elbow grease. We had a pastor on Sunday.
Okay.
He Pastor Ronnie at Crystal River Church of God. He was speaking this Sunday, and he said something that really hit with me and Raver Mom. And he said, if somebody comes up to him and asks him for help, he's going to ask them, well, what are you doing to help yourself? And if they say nothing, and he goes, well, what do you want me to do about it? I'm not going to carry the burden for you. If you're not going to help yourself, how can I help you? And that is so true. In our weakest spot, in our weakest time, at our weakest abilities, we don't want to do it. We want somebody else to do it for us the grand majority of the time. We don't put the work in to do it. And if we don't put the work in, how do we know what we can do?
Yep.
That's where the term faith in action comes from. I can have faith that God is going to bring me out of financial debt. I can have faith that God is going to help me overcome my fear of talking in front of people. But if I don't put the work into it to learn or to gain the knowledge of what I need to do, or even putting myself in those positions where I'm practicing it,
Yep.
how is God going to help me if I'm sitting still?
Yeah.
That's where you can find strength in your weakness, is how can you push past it?
Yeah.
How can you take yourself out of that situation and grow from it? So, me personally, I believe this is just a step to get you out of that.
I think so. Yeah. I think it's another adage of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink it.
True that.
The horse actually has to, put some muscle in and bend down to get the water.
Yeah, I feel like me and Raver Mom are going through a part of our lives where we are stuck in that. Like it's the epitome of our life right now. We feel like we are at our weakest. There's
Right.
a, we're overcoming a lot and we're going through a lot, and it's very. Some parts of it's heartbreaking. Some parts of it are mind breaking. Some of it'll rip your emotions to shreds. But it's finding that strength in the midst of all that to push through. What people don't realize, and what Gyomei had to come to the reality of, was that he pushed past all of that in order to get to the rank he was at. Like I mentioned, he was blind.
Yep.
Whenever you watch the show, he's crying all the time. Very soft hearted dude. I mean, his heart breaks so easy, and he has such a compassionate heart, and he cries whenever something is just heartbreaking.
Mm.
And you would think that this guy is just so weak because his emotions and his mind have been beaten to shreds. But this guy put in so much work that, I mean, he went from being a beanpole to being the biggest guy
Mm.
in the Demon Slayer Corps.
All right.
And they have this test in the Hashira training. They had a Whenever they got to him for training, there was this boulder. Boulder was bigger than him. So if you are, thinking about Tanjiro, the boulder was like 2.5 times his height.
Yep.
And if he laid on the ground, it was just about as wide. And he had to push this thing 10 feet. I mean, you think about that. That boulder weighs a couple of tons.
Tons. That's a big rock.
And while they're sitting there struggling to try to move this thing, and they're not moving it, what they're doing is digging their feet into the ground and then landing on their face. But then you have Gyomei, and he's just practicing. He's the stone Hashira. He keeps his body and his mind trained, and he's pushing this thing like it's paper. It
With the
weighs
help of
nothing.
aliens, I'm guessing.
He must be an alien, but he was pushing it like it was nothing. And they're looking at him like, dude, you're crazy. But his response to it basically was, if you want to move the boulder that you're too weak to move, you got to put the work into
Yep.
it.
You got to train.
And they were using their physical strength, but the weakness was in the mind. And they had to find that mental strength in the course of all that weakness. They felt like they were defeated. They felt like they would never move the thing. Like they would never graduate his training because they were stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And in a time when Tanjiro felt like he was ready to give up, it clicked. And then he moved the boulder like 2 inches. And once he moved the boulder 2 inches, he's like, okay, now let's do 10 feet.
2 inches at a time. That's all you need to do.
And whenever he finally figured it out, he struggled, but he did it. And in our weakest points in time, we got to understand that it's going to be hard work. And we're going to struggle. But that moment, whenever we decide we're going to give up, that's where you find out if you've gained strength or not. Are you going to keep going or are you going to quit?
Yep.
If you quit, you're still weak. If you power through, that's where you find your strength. And that's why I think Second Corinthians is a good verse, because of the fact that in our weakest points in life, where we feel like we're going to give up, and we decide, I'm going to keep putting the work into it, but God, I need your help. Just like Tanjiro asked his teachers for help, asked for their knowledge, he watched them, he studied them. Just as he did that in his time of weakness, if we do the same thing with God in our time of weakness, whether it's overcoming something or trying to better ourselves in doing something, God's grace and His mercy will help us power through. And it's at the weakest points in our lives whenever we turn to God. Sad enough, we as humans,
Yep.
whenever everything is going good, a lot of times like, God, it's nice to know you're there, but I got this. But then whenever
Yep.
on our
Struggling.
we're on our knees in pain, or we don't know where our next meal is coming from, or we don't have the money for gas, or
Mm-hmm.
we can't put clothes on our kids' backs, or clothes on our backs. We can't pay the electric bill.
Yep.
We can't pay the water bill. All of a sudden, God, are you there?
And God will tell you to do something, and you'll hesitate. You
Exactly.
know.
This is like if you're not willing to put the work at your weakest time, if you're not willing to put the work into it, what do you expect God to do? God's going to look at you and say, okay, you're weak. What are you going to do about it? I got your back,
Yep.
but what are you going to do about it? I'll provide the way. But if you don't walk through the door, that's your problem, not mine. I put the door there.
Yep.
You walk through the door.
There's the path. I'll be with you on the path, but you gotta, take that first step.
And that's God.
Yep.
God's going to provide you with what you need, but are you going to put your faith in action and actually pull it off? And that's where 10 comes in, because it kind of speaks to our mentality. We know what God is capable of doing. We know what God will do for us. But verse 10 talks about our mentality. He says, "For the sake of Christ, then I am content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, calamities. For when I am weak," it's not something to be embarrassed about.
No.
Weakness isn't something to be embarrassed. Whenever we're weak, it comes with things like insults. It comes with hard times.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with being persecuted. It comes in times of calamity. But if we allow that weakness to tear us down and we let it defeat us,
That's our weakness.
that's
your
weakness.
defeat. Yep.
But if we're content with being weak and we look at weakness as a strength, we look at weakness as, okay, I'm weak here, but I can build myself up from here.
Yep.
Weakness is the foundation that I'm going to find my strength on. So if we do that, then, hey, weakness isn't a bad thing at all. I went to school with a guy, scrawny dude. He was a stick. Like I could take one hand and put it around his forearm and be able to touch my finger stick. And he was weak. He was weak physically, but mentally, you just didn't know. And he would get picked on about his size, because he would always try to be cool and always try to hang with the popular crowd, and that was just his personality. But the way he looked, everybody made fun of him. Now, this guy, he started weightlifting. He started bulking up on protein. I mean, I would go over to his house and we'd eat 24 eggs.
That's a lot of eggs.
A lot of eggs, and then we'd eat about a pound of bacon apiece, and we would down a whey protein shake, and we would go work out.
Nice.
Now, this dude bulked up, like bodybuilder bulked up. Last time I saw him, his arms were as big as my head.
Whew,
Okay, he got huge.
that's big.
Me, I didn't do it for the sake of bodybuilding. I did low weight, high rep
Yep.
just because of the fact that I wanted to tone up and work on my health.
Right.
But he went for like full on, just increase
Yeah.
weight, increase weight, increase weight. On max out day, that dude was a beast.
Sounds like it.
Okay, but he did not let all of that break his mind. He would come home upset. He would call me up upset. It's like, man, who cares what they're saying? But he did. That's the
Hmm.
thing. He did care about it, and he did something about it. And like I said, now the dude's he's a monster. But he didn't let it break him. And he kind of, besides the being blind part and having your family slaughtered, he kind of reminds me of Gyomei because of the fact that in that time of weakness, nobody wanted him around. They accused him of killing his family. That the kids in that orphanage were his family,
That's rough.
and they were blaming him for it because of the fact that they didn't want to believe that demons were real. And whenever the door opened for him to do something about it, he stepped through the door and he built up.
Hmm.
And he became that huge monstrous dude. But what I like about it is whenever he gained that strength from his weakness, he did not let it change his compassionate heart.
Mm.
And a lot of times whenever we get to the point where we have overcome our weakness, we get prideful in it.
Yep.
And that pride takes over. Like me, I have that issue. That is one of
We
my
all do.
that is one of my biggest weaknesses. Once I get a little cocky about something, let me take over. That's it. I got this. But I don't share the load.
Right.
That is a tough thing for me to overcome. So I work hard toward it. I don't want it to defeat me. I want to defeat it. I want to take that newfound weakness that I have and turn it into a
Yeah.
strength. That's a big area
Yeah.
for me.
I mean, I think another character that amplifies this really well is Naruto. He amplifies it really well, just for the sake that I think his pride is not only his greatest strength, but it's also his greatest weakness.
That's true. Naruto. Well, honestly, I think half of him is false pride
Yeah.
because of the fact that he was picked on all the way through school. He didn't know why he was being picked on.
Yep.
The adults knew, but the kids didn't really know. They just knew that their parents did it and they kind of followed
Yep.
suit. And he did that to gain attention.
Hmm.
It was negative attention, but it was attention.
It was attention, and when you grow up, you seek attention the only way you know how. And if you get negative attention, that's what you're going to seek out.
Well, the awesome part about Naruto is that whenever he was given the chance to overcome that weakness, he fell a lot, but he became triumphant in it.
He did.
And in the end, he became a Hokage.
Yep.
He wasn't the fifth one like he was aiming
Nope.
for, but he did eventually become the Hokage. And he went from being completely disrespected to being completely respected.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a good example. I still have to finish Shippuden.
Yep.
Which I'm embarrassed to say that I
Yeah,
have
me
not
too.
finished it. Finished the first series.
Yeah.
Got to like season 2 of Shippuden, and now I'm like I gotta finish that.
Yeah.
That's what Crunchyroll is for. It's a pretty mind blowing thing that weakness can be a strength.
Yeah.
Like I said, it sounds like a massive oxymoron, but If you don't know where you're weak,
weakness.
how
How
can you
can you
ever
build?
get strong?
Yep.
Is there anything else you have
No.
to add?
No.
I know I talked a lot during this one. I talked a lot during the last episode too. Uh, which that's my weakness. I tend to overtake, and it's something I got to work on because I want it to be more conversation
All
based.
right.
So yeah, I'm working on that. Possibly working on a new format. Who knows? We'll figure it out though. We did a question from a couple last week with Raver Mom.
All right.
I'm going to do a question from a cup with you this week.
Okay.
Last week's question was, what's your favorite anime?
Ooh.
Yeah, I got the loaded
There,
question.
there's so many, and I'm gonna go with. It may not be my favorite. It's definitely one of my go-to ones that I'll put on occasionally. Girls in Panzer or Und Panzer.
Okay, yeah. I got you. I haven't watched that one. I know which one you're talking about, but I haven't watched it.
We'll have to watch it. Yep.
Okay, alright. So, now that you've answered the question from last week, here's...
Alright.
You're going to pick the question from this week.
We got one.
Alright.
Alright, this is pretty similar to the one we just did last week. If you could choose an anime to live in, which anime would it be?
Okay, so selecting our anime world.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Oof.
That one is... I don't know. I think that one's a little more challenging than the what's your favorite anime?
Yeah.
Because you can like the anime, but
can.
hate where
Oh,
they
yeah.
live. It's like, I love Trigon, but I wouldn't want to live in
No.
a desert.
Nope.
Man, that's something to think about.
I mean, I guess it also depends. Are you just like an average guy, or are you going to be a main character in the show?
I think it's more like you're the lead role in your own story type deal.
You're the lead role in the story?
Yeah.
I guess I would probably go with My Hero Academia.
Okay, superpowers.
Just because, yeah, you might get... I'm taking the chance that I'll get something cool or I'll get something lame. But more often than not, I'll probably just have a normal life. So I'm cool with that.
Pretty much you're going to be Midoriya, only you're not going to meet All Might. Gotcha. I think that if I had to choose, I would choose the world of Howl's Moving Castle.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, there's magic in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a time of war set in that movie, but war wasn't really everywhere.
Yeah.
And to be a main character in that, to experience living in the castle and meeting the characters and then ending up in a cottage in the midst of a flower field with a portal that leads to a flower shop and like literally it's like I'm growing my own money. I'd be able to take care of my family.
Yep.
That'd be a very peaceful life, beautiful as can be.
Yep.
And hey, I mean, the world was awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty nice. You'll go with the nice, peaceful farmer lifestyle. I get the action-packed X-Men universe. Okay, all right, we'll go with that.
He gets beat up every other day.
Probably.
I want to be a superhero. Yes. All right, well, that question didn't take as long as I thought it would, so I'm going to draw a question as well. Let's see here. Favorite video game console?
Ooh.
I own a lot.
I say just the classic Xbox 360, or I'm not even gonna touch a console and just say PC.
Okay. Me? Sega Genesis all the way.
Really, Sega?
Yeah.
Sega over Nintendo, really?
Yeah. That's
okay.
where we live in a house divided because Raver Mom is Nintendo all the way.
Okay.
We have both consoles in the house. We have the original NES Entertainment System, and then we have the Sega Genesis. And we don't like playing each other's consoles with each other. Whenever I play Super Mario with her, I love it for the sheer fact that I get to spend time with her.
Yeah.
But I stink at playing Super Mario 3. I am literally there as her placeholder. So if she loses all her lives, I just make sure I stay alive long enough for her to get back to her spot, and then I can die all I want to. But whenever we switch consoles and I'm playing the Sega Genesis and she's playing with me, I, especially Sonic the Hedgehog, Lord of Mercy, I played the game so much, it's like breathing. I hit the button and I just run. And I strategically hit the jump button. And I beat most of the levels in like 30 seconds or less.
The original speed running.
I mean, it's... although what's bad is she got me... was it Sonic Forces for the Switch?
Yeah.
You know, because
so.
now Sega's on Nintendo, which is horrible to me. But Sega was very smart with that. They started the console wars with like PlayStation and stuff like that. They started the console war. But they got smart whenever they weren't selling consoles, but their games were very popular. They continued making games, but they sold them to everybody else, and they made even more money. I mean, they're making bank. Whereas now they're making more products because they make their own line of anime figurines, and they make movies, and still putting video games out like crazy. And I mean, they're doing crazy stuff now, but they're just not making consoles anymore. But she bought me Sonic Forces, and I'm like, I'm gonna take the old school approach to this thing. And I hit the button down and started hitting the jump button, and because your jump button on that is also the attack button. So I'm sitting there running through and just tapping the button down, just bouncing back and forth using the tracking thing, hitting all the enemies. And now with the new game, I average about a minute or less. Whenever it comes to beating levels, but the levels are also longer and more complicated. You can't just bounce over the top of the worlds. You got to actually run through them. So I can still speed run on those things, but it's not like a 30-second speed run. There's a way to do a 30-second speed run on there. Just on most of them, I haven't figured out how to get below 40 seconds.
That's pretty quick still.
Yeah. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog has always been my game. Doesn't matter what console it was on, whether it was Genesis, Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, Nintendo GameCube, Switch. It's always been my game.
Now you got me reminiscing about Halo 2 lobbies. Now that you asked me what the favorite console was, I'm like, man, I remember Halo 2 lobbies. I remember the Call of Duty 4, the original Call of Duty 4 lobbies. What a time to be alive. Those were fun.
Okay, I'm gonna show my age just a little bit, okay? I've got a little bag underneath the coffee maker in the studio. It's a little black and blue bag. If you unzip that, there are 2 original PlayStations inside of there. Those were for the traveling game lobbies, where you would meet in a place and you would set up, and you would
That's
hook in,
cool.
and you would like hook into a network,
Yeah.
and you'd battle against each
Not,
other.
not a PlayStation 2. You're talking about a PlayStation 1.
Oh, the original OG flip top, big
Wow.
classic
Yep.
one, the first gen.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
But I got a competition set up in that bag over there. But yeah, no, I remember those things. Of course, my game on that was Parappa the Rapper.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I remember that game.
I've it took me a while, but I did finally find a good copy of Parappa the Rapper, and then I ran into a place and I found Gyomei, which is the rock version of it, where you're following the female character that was from Parappa the Rapper, only she's rock and roll. Which is funny. They were made by the same studio, but the lag on the control response for Gyomei is horrible.
Really?
With Parappa the Rapper, you kind of get the rhythm down and you're good to go. With Gyomei, you can get the rhythm down, but you have to step back like a half a beat to hit it.
Oh, wow.
It's horrible. I was so excited to find that game. And once I started playing it, I'm like, this stinks. I don't like it anymore. But yeah, no, I'm Sega Genesis all the way.
Alright.
So on another note,
Yeah.
I started back into watching One Piece.
Okay.
And I started back up watching it again. I on the streaming platform that I was on, it kind of stopped at the low 700s, and then there was a huge gap, and then it started in the thousands.
Wow.
So it's like I'm missing a few hundred episodes in between that. It's like this ain't gonna work for me. So I stopped watching it. And we finally got Crunchyroll, so I'm excited about that. So I started watching it again, and I thought I was on like episode 620 something.
Yeah.
So I go into Crunchyroll and I hit the episode that I thought I was on. It was like No, I thought I was on 657. That was the episode I thought I was on. I go to it and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm back way too far. So I start flipping through the episodes. I'm like, man, I'm on episode 720. So I'm heading toward the end of the Dressrosa arc,
Okay.
which is against Doflamingo.
If I wanted to get into One Piece, is there a way to, like, skip all, like, the filler episodes? Or, like, start somewhere that's... No, I gotta start from episode 1, huh?
You got to start from episode 1. There aren't as many filler episodes as you think. I mean, you could tell they did make some episodes where they were like movie continuations,
Okay.
or they were like filler episodes that they did while they were waiting for the mangas and stuff like that. That you can watch. You don't necessarily have to watch them because they have nothing to do with the story. So at that point, you can remove like 6 filler episodes out of the arc
Wow.
because it has nothing to do with the arc. But some of those filler episodes are actually pretty funny.
Okay.
But there are some filler episodes where they flat out say for the end of this movie.
Okay.
So if you you can go online and you can look up how should I watch the movies with the anime,
Yeah.
and it'll tell you at what point in between the episodes to watch the movie.
Okay.
That way, whenever you hit that filler episode for the movie, it makes sense.
I got you.
If you don't watch the movie, the filler episode's going to confuse you, and then the episode afterwards, you're like, hey, I'm back on. So that's one easy way to do it. Realistically, watching it's not that bad. There are some areas where it it's like a little lull. Where it's like you went through all this action and now it's like little puffs of action here and there, and you're like,
Oh,
what in the world?
you gotta reset the dopamine hit. Is
Yeah.
what you gotta do.
So that kind of happens a lot at the beginning. Once you're going
Yep.
through the first couple of arcs, but then after that, it just goes.
Okay.
So it's what you got to keep in mind is that whenever you're starting One Piece and you're going through the first couple of arcs, you are building the story, you are building the crew.
Okay.
So you kind of have to go searching with them.
Yeah.
And if you go in there with the state of mind, okay, we're looking for our crew. We got to find our crew. So you're going to be searching. And if you go in there with that kind of deal, you'll make it through it pretty quick.
Okay.
Once you get into it and you get started, you're going to find it very hard to stop watching it.
Got you.
You're going to turn into one of those guys who's like, I'm watching 25 episodes a day. And realistically, if you watch it like that, you'll catch up pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty quick. Yeah.
I used to watch probably about 10 episodes a day.
That's a lot.
But you got work, you got kids. That doesn't happen all the time. But whenever I would go on my breaks and stuff like that for work, I'd 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, 20-minute episodes. Yeah, that's easy.
If if I was working around the house, I'd put an earbud in, and if I was washing the dishes or something, I'd watch it. I'd watch it while I'm washing the dishes or cooking, or sometimes it's just background noise.
Yep.
And then once the action starts, you stop and you watch. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where whenever I start watching it, I halfway dread it because I know that I'm not gonna want to stop. It's like I can't stop in the middle of this. I can't stop in the middle. No, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
We're going back to the days of commercials and having to wait a week before the next episode comes out, type deal. So, but it's a fun investment of time.
Yeah.
But
that's why I prefer to even now just wait for the series to fully come out. I'll wait for the season to end, and then I'll just rewatch last previous season all at once.
you can't do that with One Piece.
No, you can't. No.
I mean, you can go back a couple of episodes in a previous season and watch, just kind of reacclimate your mind and get into the new stuff. But you cannot start from the beginning.
No.
And watch 1,000 episodes.
No, in one
to
no.
to watch the next season.
No.
And then the next one comes out, you're going to start at one, and you're going to watch 1,300 episodes to watch the next season. It's like, no, ain't gonna happen.
No.
But it's. I would say this: don't knock it before you try it.
Yeah.
And whenever you try it, give it at least a season before you knock it.
All right.
There's a lot of people who don't like One Piece will flat out say, I only watched like 5 episodes. I didn't like it.
I gotta go back and watch Demon Slayer because I gotta give it a chance too.
Demon Slayer again is another one of those things where you got to get through the first season. With a lot of animes, you got to get past that first season before you can enjoy it, and it's because of the fact that it's building the story.
Yep.
And if you're going to commit to an anime, you got to go through the story building process, and that's usually the first 1 to 2 seasons. I did not like My Hero Academia.
Yeah, no, understandable.
The first season was horrible.
Oh yeah.
But as it progressed, I mean, once season 3, I loved it. I loved season 3. Season 3 left me saying, "Where in the world season 4?"
Yep.
But I loved season 3, and it wasn't until season 3 that I was completely hooked.
Yeah.
So you got to give it time. It's one of those. We're going off anime at this point. It's one of those Sheldon Cooper moments, from Big Bang Theory, where he goes up to Amy.
Yeah.
I think it was Amy, and he goes, "I'm wondering if I should start watching the Flash TV show." because if I do start watching it, if it's a flop, I'm stuck watching it because I'm going to commit to it till the end. And that's kind of the attitude you have
You
to
gotta
have with
have,
anime
yeah.
is, do I watch it? If I do, I've got to commit to it till it's over.
You do, yeah.
Because, whether it's bad or not, because it could come to a point where it gets
Where
pretty
it's good,
it gets
yeah.
pretty good, just like Demon Slayer, which
Yeah.
was it didn't start getting good till like the second half of the second season,
Okay.
in my opinion. My Hero Academia season 3 all the way.
Yep.
Black Clover,
Yep.
I think it's season 3.
Yeah,
It got pretty good.
Yeah, season 3, I think.
Wow, so many different ones.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z.
Mm.
Most people probably would. Most people who didn't like it probably did not get through season 3.
Yeah.
Because season 4 is kind of when it started catching its traction real good. So I mean, it's all of this stuff. You don't find too many one season wonders out there
No, you don't.
that actually work. Like Earth SOS.
Yep.
Fantastic.
It's pretty
short
good.
season thing.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's short.
Soul Eater.
Soul Eater, yeah.
Good anime. Soul Eater not horrible. But the OG Soul Eater, good short season.
Yeah.
Single season, short. It was good.
Black Lagoon's a good short one.
I haven't watched that one.
Violent. Very violent, though.
Have you seen Ghost Hunter?
Ghost... No.
It's an older one.
Okay.
Awesome. If you like ghost hunting, the Ghost Hunter TV shows and stuff like that, where they go into the haunted houses and they try to find proof of ghosts and stuff, same deal, but it's like anime version of it. It's pretty cool, and it's a single season, one shot wonder.
I'm thinking of something else. Ghost Stories.
No,
No.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm sorry. All I see are a bunch of voice actors in a recording booth saying random junk while recording an anime.
It's the best abridged you'll ever find.
The thing is, that wasn't a bridge. They were just trying to see how far they could take it. No, Ghost Hunter is a actual serious anime.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
That was I think that was the second anime series anime series that me and Raber Mom watched all the way through. We would watch 1 or 2 episodes a night, and it's not really a comedy. I mean, I wouldn't say there's much funny in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more on the serious side, but it was really good.
Okay.
And they ended it very well. So it was one of those things where it's like, I'm good. You don't have to continue. Just leave it there.
Cool.
But Ghost Hunter, I think, was another good short series.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. There's so many of them, though. If you want to watch an estranged one that is in the Astro Boy art style, it's 13 episodes long. It's called Android Kakiter.
Okay.
And you should be able to find that one on YouTube. It's an older miniseries. Whenever we lived up in Georgia for a short time, a coworker introduced me to it, and I watched it, and it is almost like a mix between Astro Boy and a little bit of Metropolis on the side.
Okay.
So it's pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's like top 10 short series, but it's another one where it literally was a mini series, and you can watch it in less than a half a day.
Nice.
So it's not too bad. That one, I would say check it out just to say you did.
Yeah, another one I can recommend if you like fighter jets or like Ace Combat, like games. Area 88 is a good one. It's about, I think, either 12 episodes long, and it's pretty good.
I'll have to look into that one. Haven't heard of that. Yeah, because I like Top Gun.
Yeah.
If it's something similar to that, I'd
Yeah,
probably get
it's
into it.
similar. Yeah.
I have to check that out. Any other short series on your mind?
Not that I can think of.
All right, all right. Well, I think we can close it
I think we can.
here. So, in closing, let us remember 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 through 10. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then I am content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Join us as we close in prayer. Father God, I thank you for making weakness in our lives, to give us the opportunity to see our weaknesses and turn them into our strengths, to move past our weakness and go down a path that can take us to where we never imagined we could go. God, I thank you for your grace and your mercy in those times. I thank you for the paths that you provide so that we can grow in strength. And as we wrap up today's episode, God, let us remember that it is you that is with us in every story, whether animated or real. I pray that you, Father God, will help us to see you in everything that we do and watch. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you for tuning into Reb's Otaku Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your chosen platform and like and follow us on our Facebook page, Reb's Otaku Talkers. Also follow us on X and Waku Waku. Our username there is Reverend Otaku 9000. Please leave a comment and review, and share your favorite anime moments with us. Until next time, I hope you keep your anime collection strong and your faith stronger. See you later, guys.
Have a good night.
You know what short series I think is really funny? Lucky Star. I mean, come on. If you haven't watched Lucky Star, you're missing out. It's like an otaku's brain put onto a screen.